everyone, I will be your reporter in this topic about language issues in multicultural education. But first, let us define what is language. Language is a system of communication used by a particular country or community. It consists of words used in a structured and conventional way for human communication. It is also defined as a body of words and systems for their use to common people who are of the same community and nation, the same geographical area, or the same cultural tradition. Now, what is issue? Issue is a concern or a problem about a certain topic that most of the time requires discussion. In simple words, issue is a concern or a problem about a topic that most of the time, according to the definition, requires discussion. Now, what is multicultural education? It is an idea, an education, reform, or movement, and a process that seeks to create equal educational opportunities for all students, including those from different racial, ethnic, and social class groups. According to Banks in the year 1997, multicultural education is an idea, an educational reform, and a process. As an idea, it seeks to create equal educational opportunities for all students, including those from different racial, ethnic, and social class groups. Now let's talk about language issues in multicultural education. So there are two language issues in multicultural education. The first one is language learning and culture, and the second one is language barrier. Let us first talk about language learning and culture. According to Nieto in the year 1991, he says that language is an inextricably linked culture. In order to express our cultural values, we use language. The influence of culture may be detrimental to language learning as a result of factors such as mother tongue interference, lack of ability to express oneself, poor academic achievement, lack of social interaction with fellow peers and teachers, and lack of fluency in learners. Now, what is mother tongue interference? It refers to the influence of the native language of the learner on her or his acquisition of the target language. What we mean by the target language is aiming to learn. Next one is lack of ability to express oneself. It refers to us humans not being able to express ourselves. In a classroom setting, those are the learners who can't express and share their thoughts and ideas easily to the class. Next one, poor academic achievement. The main reason for the poor academic achievement lies on how a person or group of people lived life, whether they are well taught and literate or doesn't have any clue about things happening around them or being illiterate ones. Next one is the lack of social interaction with fellow peers and teachers. Social interaction plays an important role in learning. Interacting with other people has proven to be effective in assisting the learners to organize their thoughts, reflect on their understanding, and find gaps in their reasoning. Last one, lack of fluency in learners. Lack of fluency is also known for speechlessness, stammering, stumbling, and stuttering. This usually happens during reading, which includes inefficient or inaccurate decoding of unfamiliar words, lack of memory of words that have been read and practiced previously, and also the automatic recognition of few words. Now, let us talk about language barriers. Language barriers is the lack of a common language that prevents two or more people from speaking or understanding each other through verbal communication. It occurs when two people who speak different languages cannot understand one another, and there is a breakdown in language and communication. The most common example of these are people speaking to each other or with other people with languages native to different regions, which then sometimes end up with people fuzzing and misunderstanding each other. Also, another example of language barriers are dialects. It is often to see same words with different dialects, but they also have different meanings respectively.
Good day everyone, I'm Rosalinda P. Mello and my task is to give you some situations that shows language issues in a multicultural education. The first situation is when only one language is allowed as the medium of instruction, the non-native speakers or the second language learners experience difficulties in expressing themselves in the class because they are not fluent or confident in speaking a particular language used in the school. When only one language is allowed as the medium of instruction, when the teacher speaks, for example, in English, the learners might be able to understand but cannot respond or speak in English, or else they cannot be able to understand or speak in English the whole time. This is because they have limited language proficiency. When one language allowed as a medium of instruction, students are unable to communicate with their teachers and struggles to cope with the academic situations because it's difficult for them to inquire what are their problems, what are the things they really need to do to pass on the subject, because they cannot construct a good words to start a conversation. So they just set aside all these problems. And the last one is their mother tongue will deteriorate because it will not be used in the class. Another situation is learners with different language are often prejudiced by other learners from racial groups. It is because of that if a student from other place that speak different language, other learners might think that he or she is different for the reason that the language he uses is different from them. So therefore, they were going to exclude them in any activities in the class. The next is the lack of confidence. We cannot deny that it is difficult to learn a new language, and students are often shy about attempting pronouncing in front of the class. Well, in myself, I'm afraid to speak English in class because I'm afraid to be judged and correct harshly. Students are holding their backs to say what they want to say because of the fear of making grammatical mistakes in the classroom. Learners are afraid to question the given instruction, which is not clear. Yeah, that's true. So in my case, sometimes I pretend that I know and I understand what my teacher is talking because I have no confidence to ask her about that topic. So the lack of confidence will lead to inability to communicate well or properly. The fourth situation is the use of slang. Due to the possibility of having different language in one classroom, the use of slang is really a challenge. When we say slang, it is an informal language or specific words used by a particular group of people. Like goat, instead of saying greatest of all time, lit, sick, instead of something that is cool. So, slang is often inculcated in one's vocabulary and one cannot realize it's slang until its puzzled look at the audience is visible. Okay. For example, the teacher will discuss in front and unconsciously she utters slang words during her discussion. So students will become more confused by words that they don't know. So it will make the learners get frustrated and pay attention less in the class. The fifth situation is the interference of one's native language or mother tongue. Since we are in the same classroom, teachers and students who have different native language or mother tongues will encounter interference in the use of the medium of instruction. So, when one cannot express his ideas or thoughts with a prescribed language, learners will tend to use another language or code switch. Let's say for instance, me as a Bulanon trying to explain something in class. So it would be like this. When we say multicultural education, it is a form of education that introduces students sa lain-lain or klase-klase ng mga cultural backgrounds, beliefs, and values. It is a type of education model that celebrates diversity and equity. Kay ang ijang tumong og tuyo is to serve all students man. See, when I experience difficulty in speaking English, I will automatically use a language which is easy for me to use. So, let's proceed to the sixth and last situation. Implementation of mother tongue-based multilingual education. In a multilingual country, the existence of multiple living language native to a specific region is a challenge in a multicultural education. The Department of Education in the Philippines implemented the MTB-MLE. In a statement, the DepEd said that the MTB-MLE mandates the use of the language that school children are familiar with their first languages as a medium of instruction to allow them to learn easily. This implementation may be advantageous to the native learners, but there are still issues with regards to this. Because teachers who are not skilled with the regional language assigned to the school is one of the factors of its poor learning. Teachers who are unable to speak the learner's mother tongue or mother language cannot communicate to his or her students, parents, and communities. In connection to this problem are the lack of references and teacher trainings. Overall, multicultural education bears many different positive effects to the learners. With regards to the language learning, successful learners may become great communicators and are socially intelligent individuals. However, the idea of language barriers due to cultural backgrounds may hinder one's educational opportunity to succeed. Moreover, dealing language issues in multicultural education is very important. Yet, sadly, it is not yet fully taken into consideration because until recently, no such term existed for language discrimination. Although this does not mean that language issues are discrimination to multicultural education as much did not exist. And that is language issues in multicultural education. Thank